I'm next to a couple red twig dogwoods here. They're also referred to as redosier dogwood, and these both came up on their own. Most likely a bird ate one of the fruits, which has the seed in it, and had a dropping here. They start out as a little sprig, and it happens fast. Now at first, it didn't seem like they were going to be that close to that Quebec Weeping Cedar here, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to transplant out this dogwood right here. It's just too close. Anytime you get a shrub or some type of object next to an evergreen, just that lack of sun, something close, you're going to get a void where it'll just start dropping its needles, and I absolutely do not want that to happen. This is one of my favorite conifers in all of our gardens. And on that topic, you can see the yellowing here on this Techni arborvitae. I let this blue muffin arrowwood viburnum get too big, and that shading has caused this yellowing or injury that you see here. I rejuvenated the viburnum last fall, and I'll eventually be transplanting this shrub out as well. The red twig dogwoods, their native habitat is where they're going to have some moisture, kind of a understory and woodlands, but they'll actually tolerate it pretty dry as well. I think I've picked out the perfect location where we get occasional wet areas. We're kind of at the end of the window to do this kind of transplanting. You want your shrub to be dormant. You can see here, we're just starting to break bud. The leaves are opening, so we don't want to wait much longer to do this. We're going to be cutting this shrub back by at least half, maybe even 2/3. We want to balance it out for the root system we're going to take according to what's on the above ground portion left. This red twig here, this has got plenty of room to thrive, to grow. Now you can rejuvenate dogwoods frequently if you have to. If you take a look at this project where we cut back this cardinal dogwood, this is the second time now in about 12 years that I've cut this back, and I've never ever gone this low to the ground, but it'll come back. It's surprising how quickly they can respond, and we'll likely get about 4 to 5 feet of growth out of that cardinal this year. So the same thing here. If we decided we were just going to rejuvenate this, it would almost become an annual event just because of that powerful root system under it. It'll just take off, and it'll continue just to grow too quickly. So it's time to get it out of there. We're going to be using a shovel called the Root Slayer. And it's got kind of this razor edge here. They do work just fantastic for cutting through roots, making a nice clean cut compared to a round point shovel, which sometimes they'll kind of push off. First step, we're going to have to go ahead. We'll take care of some of this rock edging here. I like using the rock edging just because it's a natural way to go. It's plentiful in our area. I've got access to a lot of this. It's called field stone. Sometimes they're just riprap type rock. But once we take this out, so easy to put it back in compared to, say, if it were the black poly edging. We'll go ahead and get this cut back first. That'll make it a lot easier to get closer into that root system. When these twigs are small, hand pruners is typically about the quickest, most effective way. So once this red twig dogwood out of here, it's going to just be a much more natural opening here. We'll probably go ahead, we can put in then some smaller perennials that won't compete with that Quebec Weeping Cedar. Now that I've got it pruned, I think to myself, well, this isn't so bad. It'll fit in here just fine, but it'll easily put on that much growth or more. We've got a couple different sawtooth shovels. We're going to use this one initially to do the primary cutting, and then you could use a longer handled shovel. This one's also got a serrated edge. That's a little bit better for leveraging, getting it out of the ground. I think this is going to pop out pretty darn quick. We're going to go out from the center around about 18 inches, but it doesn't take much to cut in. Hey, Bandit. Yeah, what are you doing? There's a lot of good varieties of dogwood to pick from out there if you like that nice winter color, and that's one of the greatest things about dogwood. You can get red twigs, yellow twigs, chartreuse twigs. Cardinal happens to be kind of a brighter cherry. This is another benefit to using mulch in a lot of your beds compared to rock. Not saying you can't do it with rock, but it just adds a lot of extra work. Yeah, we'll switch over now to one that we can get in there, maybe a little more leverage. This process becomes quite a bit easier too if you've had some frequent rains or your moisture is in the soil. If it's dry, yeah, it can be a little more challenging. But okay, you know, one way to avoid lifting that dead weight, lay our wheelbarrow down like that. We're just gonna go ahead and lift it into the side here. We'll give you the wheelbarrow cam on this one. We had some nice spring rains. Lawn is really starting to green up. Yeah, right there in front of that ash tree. That's where that water pools. think that's going to work out to be a beautiful location. The way our lot is set up, then pretty much all the water on a heavy rain drains right through this area. And since sod or grass over time kind of lifts itself up, it's kind of created a little natural dam or barrier here. And so the water will pool here during wet times of the year or heavy rains. And that's going to be perfect for the dogwood. So we're just going to go ahead, we're going to put it right in this area here. It's always nice too when you're transplanting, you're starting just with a fresh soil area. You don't have to worry about putting that fill in the wheelbarrow, keeping it clean. We'll just be able to throw it out and push back whatever we need, and then we'll take the rest back and fill up that hole. We're going to use this shovel as kind of our center point, so I know what perimeter to dig this hole. So not only are we doing this at the right time of the year, when the shrub is still pretty much dormant, we've also got great moisture in the ground. We've got cooler temperatures yet. It's barely making it up to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, still got lows in the 40s and the 50s. So them are all favorable things for transplanting shrubs. Cool, wet weather. You're probably noticing here we've just got an absolutely beautiful, rich loam soil. Judging by how it's sticking to my shovel, I guess I've also got a little bit of leaning towards that clay. And one of the best ways to know how big should you dig the hole, I mean, it's just an awkward root ball, not like coming out of a nursery container. Really just take a look at your old hole and then try to match that up and go just a little bit bigger, because it seems like no matter what, when you pull that transplant root ball out of the ground, it loses a little bit of the integrity, especially if it's dry. That's another benefit to being wet. So just a little bit bigger, you can always add the soil. Our goal is we want to drop that in there and be done rather than lifting it out. We'll do the same thing here. We're going to just bring that wheelbarrow up, lay it down, and roll it into place. We had some technical difficulty when we loaded this dogwood. It's called not hitting the record button. So we'll hit the reverse cam here to show you how we pulled that off and loaded this root ball up. And the nice thing about a dogwood, they're going to be pretty forgiving if you end up going too deep. Dogwoods have the capability of layering or propagating themselves if soil gets up on the stem. Not like a lot of the trees. You don't want to go too deep when you're planting trees. So that looks to be just about perfect. We're going to backfill the proper amount so that root system doesn't dry out, and that's one of the other key steps. You don't want to let a root system dry out for very long at all. And then I'll probably leave some of this soil here to dry out just a little bit before bringing it back to fill in our hole. Make sure you do just a little tamping. Since we are so wet, there's going to be no need actually to do any type of additional watering on this. So a pretty straightforward project doing something like this, all things considered. That was about a half-hour project. Now this shrub, it will take, I'm going to say, about 3 weeks. Start pushing out again, and it's mostly going to come from the latent buds now, not the terminals so much. A latent bud is considered a hidden bud, and since we've cut all the terminals, that's where it's going to leaf out from. And I would expect we're going to see this dogwood actually get about double the size here. Yeah, I'm excited to get some of this red color up in this area. I really don't have anything for winter interest up here. All right, that's all I've got for now. Thanks for stopping by, Garden Hike. I appreciate it. We'll see you again next video.